Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu salam ala Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Halim wa salim bikum. My dear brothers and sisters, and my brothers and sisters in the Fulbe community, we just all finished our Ramadan, but I'm making the 6 extra days of Shawwal, which we all know as Muslims is very important. And you get a lot of Azure. So this is my last day. I'll be breaking fast here shortly, probably after I finish my program and everything. And I just wanted to say that, I miss talking to everyone and giving these history lessons and so forth and so on. Ramadan was kind of hard for me this year for a lot of personal reasons and whatsoever. But this is the life of a Muslim. But I'm glad that I'm here today to talk to you about this important topic about the Fulani and the turban. Let me preface this, brothers and sisters, as saying this. There's a lot of talk among African people, whether he's in Europe or he's sitting in Ghana, or if he's standing in Gambia, or if he's eating food in Senegambia, or he's living in America, Los Angeles or Washington, D.C., or Canada, or West Indies. The prevailing thought is that if a black man wears an ima in Arabic language, then he is Arab, or he's acting as an Arab. I'm going to clear up some facts about this issue here today and whatnot. Because I think it's important that we know the Fulani have been wearing the hairstyles like this, predating Islam. See, we know this for a fact. But I wanted to talk about this issue because it's very important. See, we got one person come in here. How you doing, my dear brother? Thank you very much for showing up. Wa alaikum salam rahmatullahi barakatuh. Thank you, my dear brother, for showing up today. Thank you very much. And, brothers, sisters, when I think about these issues, this prevailing, we have a lot of things going on. We have some stuff going on in Burkina Faso. I'm going to be touching that. I'm going to be touching Sudan as well in the future year, because we need to talk about that. Everybody talks about Gaza, which we should talk about Gaza, but nobody talks about Sudan. There's 3 times, 4 times more killing that's going on in the Sudan than it is in Gaza, and no one's talking about that. And I'm going to talk about this issue again here, inshallah ta'ala bi'ifnillah. So, let's get started here. I didn't give my felicitations. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ya ikhwani wati fi din. Wassalamu ala mani tabahuda li ikhwani wati fi Africa, Europa, America, Caribbean, or Canada, wa kulli makan. All right, my dear brothers and sisters, on Jarama to my Fulbe community. And we'll get started here. The Fulani and the turban has a long and deep history, brothers and sisters. Before the Arabs arrived in the late 600s, they used the ima to protect themselves from the heat of the day and the coolness of the night, because the Fulani had settled. There's a long history about the Fulani. I gave you some of this when I touched on Kempt, what we call Egypt today, and they went to the north and then they came down south. They start to go into the Sahara, the desert, and then the Savannah region, which we have remained for all these centuries now. And so the turban was used before they met the Arabs to protect themselves from the hot sun, and also to keep themselves, warm at night. Because you know how it is in the Savannah region, in the Sahara. You'd be surprised. It gets very warm during the day, but at night it gets very cool because there's nothing to hold the heat. The heat evaporates and it makes the surface air temperatures very cool. And it's shocking how cool it gets in the Sahara. So the turban keeps you in that, and it also protects you from the, from the windstorms and sandstorms which are prevalent in the Sahara and the Savannah region. It became a symbol of pride and designation for the Fulani Muslim. The Fulani Muslim wore the turban in styles that added, made him look wealthy and distinguished, and he distinguished himself more so than others did, other ethnic groups and other Muslims. And our esteemed brother, who was Mandinka, who was Samari, who I've talked about many times before, Turi, made very pointed comments about the Fulani, and he was talking about their prowess as Muslims, and so forth and so on. And then he was chiding them at the same time, because when they went to war with another Muslim group, he said they were wrong, and then he had to kind of intervene to get in between the two groups. But the distinguishable factor about the Fulani was his turban, and also his clothing and the way he presented himself. And this is something that did not make him Arab. Before the Arabs came, they were already involved in this. See, brothers and sisters, they were already having the ima was already wore. Now, in modern day time, the Fulani people, we have turban ceremonies held everywhere in the Fulani world. We have that. Again, that's something that is ours, that we generated on ourselves. And we have to get this fact out, because I hear this many times when I hear the people say, well, you're trying to imitate an Arab. Well, when the Arabs came to the Savannah region, they found the Fulani first, they converted to Fulani first. But even at this time, when the Fulani took the Islam, they went to the west, and especially to the corridor region, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and on into Senegal, right? And then into the coastal West Africa. They took that. The brothers were wearing imas at that time. They were distinguishable. Everybody knew the Fulani. They saw them with cattle. They saw them with the camel, and they saw them with long lances and swords and short swords and colorful clothing, and the imama and the face veil, which we call the people who wear this, we call mulaliyun. That's what we call this in Arabic language, and I'll talk about that issue as well. But I wanted to get that cleared up, brothers and sisters, because the Fulani is not an Arab. The black man who wears a African American, let's say, for instance, let's get into that. If the African American is sitting there in the United States and he dons a ima, his heritage, he's Muslim. Most likely, most African Americans have their relatives who came on the slave ships were Muslims. Okay, bottom line. And we know the Fulani was one of the major groups taken to the Americas. We know that also. So if a black man in America, a black man sitting in Jamaica, or he's sitting in Trinidad, and he sports ima, okay, excuse me, in Arabic language, a turban, you can't call him Arab, because if he's from the Mende people, he's from the Mandinka people, he's from the Wolof, he's from the Fulani, he's from the Hausa, all of the Muslim groups that we have today, that's his right to do that. He's not copying the Arabs. He's copying his ancestors, and he's honoring his ancestors who wore the turbans. See, so we get that straight now, brothers and sisters. We get that straight. The Africans who wear, I'm talking about West Africa. I'm talking about West Africa. In West Africa, those who wear the turban are not mimicking the Arabs. They had this before the Arabs came to them. And the Arabs wrote extensively when they saw them, to the point that they were mesmerized by the black folk they saw in the Bilad as Sudan, the land of the black people. That's what they call that. We got a couple of more people here. Here we got wa alaikum salam, rahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shukran jazilan anjarama, my dear brother. Thank you very much for showing up today. I really appreciate that. And we have, but last time I used it, we have Anjarama, my dear brother. Thank you very much. Mayate, thank you very much to showing up today. I really appreciate that. And I remember, Salam. Thank you, my dear brother. Thank you very, very much for showing up. Have you ever been to Ethiopia? No, I have not. I never had the opportunity. I wish I could travel there one of these days to Ethiopia. I know we have a sizable Muslim, community, especially to the east, and Islam is growing tremendously in Ethiopia. We know that, and we also know that the Fulani are there a lot. We know that Fulani in Sudan region. We know the Fulani there. They call Faleta people. We know that. I talked about that issue before. No, I have not. I wish one day I could go there. So we are at a point, brothers and sisters, in Islam today, is that we have a lot of trouble that's prevalent among the Muslim people, and even here in Africa, I hear this all the time. When they see the brother in Nigeria or some other place, they see the Hausa brother, they see the Kunuri brother, or whomever the brother, the Mende or Mendinka brother sitting in synagogue, and he has an imam. Automatically, they get to chide him and call him Arab. This is not the case. I've showed you this. I will get even more into this. I'm going to show you depictions here, inshallah, also as well, because this imam that you see I'm wearing today played a prominent role, to the point that the Arabs were so mesmerized when they saw the people, especially in the corridor region, and they call them mulaviyun, meaning they had turban, and he called them the veiled ones. This is what this means in Arabic language. On top of that, we get into something. In 711, you heard me talk about Andalus, which is modern day Spain. If you look at the descriptions of what Roderick said, and also the great historian said about the black people who came there, Roderick said they were blacker than the other. But if you read the whole account, they talk about how fearsome they look, because the Fulani, the Senike, the Wolof, the Tuareg, the Bambara, so who else? There was a couple of the ethnic groups also had went from the north, because Tariq ibn Ziyad, rahimahullah, he came down to get the fighters from the Sahara region and the Savannah and the Senegambia region to go up to the north to fight against the Visigoths and to take over Spain. So when this situation popped up, they began to describe them when they saw them. They called them black, jet black in color, and they wore turbans with face veils. And Roderick talked about them. And they were talked about, they never saw people like this before, because they were used to people that's sitting in North Africa, like the what we call Maghreb Aqsa, which is modern day Morocco and Algeria and Tunisia. They saw those. They didn't see the brothers in Morocco. They were black at that time. You heard my class talking about that. I cleared up this method about the white Moroccan, which is now prevalent because of the 1800s, because all the Europeans came, they mixed, they were Muslims, they mixed with the local Melanesian population. And this is why we have a lot of light, especially from the center to the north, we have a lot of light-skinned, very pale complected Moroccans. But in the 600s, as you read, the Italians, the Spanish, the French, all talked about nobody was white. They were brown and black skinned at that time. They were not like you see today. But the soldiers and the historians never saw black, cold black colored people, okay, that came from the South wearing the turban, wearing face veils, and had a particular, Fulani sword, which called safe in the Arabic language, and also a short knife. They never saw people like this before. So you can imagine when they came across into Spain to fight them, they were shocked to see these kind of people. And they had turbans. See, in this fight in 711, it wasn't the Arabs who fought. That's a misnomer. That's not the truth. The Arabs came a little bit later. Yes, some Arabs did fight, but they were not the predominant group, and they were black as well, because Roderick could not make the distinction between who was Arab, who was Amazigh, who was Tuareg, who was Fulani, or who was Senike, who was Wolof or Bambara. They could not distinguish who. All wore the same, the ima with the face veils, and they had the long sword with the short knife, short sword in their belt, on the belt. So he could not recognize them. He don't know who was what. All of them, he said, all were blacker than the other. That's what he said. You check this out. So I'll get to you in a minute. Let me make this point. Other accounts, Scobie talked about their blackness of skin and their horses and their turbans and face veils. They too were mesmerized by what they saw. They never saw black people like this before. They never saw people and fierce warriors. They never saw anybody like this before. They saw a couple of black people that came from the north before, but they were not like our Fulani brothers and our Siniki brothers and our brothers Bambara and the Wolof. They were not used to seeing people like that. And they were skilled horsemen on top of that. They were not used to seeing that. So you can imagine what they felt when they saw these people. See, we got one question here. Walaikum salam, my dear brother. Thank you very much for showing up. Yes, Ramadan, my priority was Ramadan, and I'm older now. So, the conditions for fasting all day, the precedence is taking that food and water, because I'm an older man now. I'm not like you young guys, where you can stand up and do all kinds of things. Now I'm 70. So therefore, you know what I mean? When you don't eat and drink all day, it takes a toll. So, my priority was not making the shows, but making sure I make my iftar, the breaking the fasting and so on and so on. So that's why I have not showed up. And Muslims, we know about Ramadan, and it has a lot of health benefits. But when you're an older man, the lack of sleep, the lack of food, it takes a toll on you. Wait till you get 70 years old, my young brothers and sisters. Just wait. Thank you for showing up, my dear brother. I really appreciate that. So anyway, brothers and sisters, you're starting to get the picture. By 7-11, the Europeans saw the Africans. They saw the Fulani in particular, and he saw them with turbans. The turbans was not introduced by the Arabs. When the Arabs came in the late 600s, they already found the Fulani in the Sahara and the Savannah region. They already had imas on, and they had a style. They saw them with face veils, which is totally different than what the Arabs are wearing. The Arabs wore turbans. Yes, the Prophet ﷺ, they wore that. And some of the Bedouins that's in the Sahara and the Jazeera Arab, they wore that. And of course, it's only natural. When you got a sandstorm, you take the tail like this. You take the tail of your ima, right, and you wrap it. See, you wrap it. You wrap it around here to protect your face, like this. You protect it. Okay, this is only human nature, but you got something, you protect yourself with that, right? And this is what they did even in Jazeera Arab. Our Fulani brothers had did the same thing, but they had not copied because it's only common sense. They had windstorms. They put the veil across their face, and when the Arabs came, they found them. But what was significant about that is when they found the Fulani and whatnot in the Savannah region, they wore the face veil a lot. So they began to coin terms for the Fulani and the Sinike and the Wolof and the Bambara, the Muslim brothers. Okay, they began to give them names. So they call them Muladiyun, meaning the people with turbans and the veils. They're the veiled ones. This is what the Arab historians wrote about our brothers. It's very, very interesting. Very, very. And again, they did not write, they mimic. Why did they call them Muladiyun? They did not use this term to talk about the Arabs in Jazeera Arab. They only coined that term for the Fulani, the Tuareg, the Amazigh, the Sunike, the Bambara, the Wolof, all are Muslim brothers in that region. See, so there it is again. If I wish I could show, there's a document, a historical document written in Arabic language. I just refreshed my memory over it again. And they talked about this issue about the Muladiyun. The Arabs were fascinated by the black folk in Bilad, Sudan, especially to the Western quarter. They were fascinated by them, brothers and sisters. You should see what they had wrote, especially in the Arabic language. It's beautiful what they had wrote. and they talked about how powerful they were. They talked about the Fulani people and how their prowess and how their glamour and elegance. He talked about those people because they had not seen people like that. The Arabs, they're Afro-Arabs, yes, but they're lighter skinned, but they were not Fulani. They were not Fulani. They were not Hausa or Sinike or Mende or Mendinka. They were not that. So they saw people that was totally different. They were Muslims and they were totally different, and he wrote about it. They were mesmerized, brothers and sisters. They did not say that we copied after them. That's this important factor. So those who are not Muslim, who will see this perhaps in the future, when you start to go after your Black African brother, whether he's in America or any other, and he has a ima or turban on, don't call him Arab. That's wrong. We had this before they came to see us and gave us Islam. We already started to wear it. So now you have that factor. Okay, our brother here was talking about, oh yes, oh yes, we all, yes, we all were, fasting. And I tell you, boy, this it's starting to, how can I say, not when you get older, the fasting, boy, it takes on a significance. My wife was joking with me. She's telling me, no, I'm going to make even more additional days. I said, okay. She asked me if I said, no, quick. I didn't hesitate. I said, I'm doing my 6 extra days, and that's it. Today's my last day. I'm getting over it, and I don't want to fast for a while. You know what I mean? And so forth and so on. So, yeah, subhanAllah, shukran jazilan, my dear brother. Okay, and our brother said, did the name Mali come from? You know what? I don't know where Mali came from. To be honest, I don't know where this term came from. I know Timbuktu. I know this term, but I don't know Mali I don't know. I don't have, maybe some brothers in the chat. You guys look it up, or you may have this answer. Please give it to us. I don't know. Matter of fact, I never even thought about what Mali means. I don't. Or I might have known a long time ago, but you get older, you start to forget things. I can't remember exactly what that that entails. And again, brothers, and sisters, I want to stress this factor, that the mesmerization about the Black man in the Western corridor of West Africa was great. The Arabs were mesmerized, especially from the 700s to the 1000s, when the Murabitun finally took over again in Andalus. They wrote extensively about them. And there's a picture not a picture, but a drawing that this Arab historian of the Takrur region, which is the hub of this prowess of the Fulani, which is in northern Senegal. We know it today. And they drew pictures of them. You see them in long lances with turbans and with short little knives or short swords. And he said they were always in jihad. This is what this Arab historian was talking about. See, so again, brothers and sisters, when you read these accounts, they never said they mimicked them, or they never told you, well, we had to teach them how to do this. When Islam came to us, we already, as Fulani people, we already had Pulako. We already had that. We already had this. We already had the politeness. We had many different things. We already had the, because we took from Messer, we had this cleanliness about us. Even if we were in the Sahara, we still had ways about us to cleanse ourselves, right? So it's not that the Arabs had to come to teach us. They did not. Yes, they taught us Islam because the Prophet ﷺ received his revelation in Jazira Arab. We can't take that and deny that. Yes, and when the Arabs came to give it, they had to teach us how to pray. They had to do this, so forth and so on. But as far as wearing the turban, no, they did not. See, so I want to make this emphasis. And the turban became a symbol of Islamic power and beauty for the Fulani. Everybody in West Africa know about the Fulani. As our esteemed ancestral brother Mandinka, a great Samari Tori talked about the prowess of the Fulani. He talked about the prowess of the Fulani person. He talked about their Islam and so forth and so on. Everybody knows in at this time about the Fulani. Tariq ibn Zayed, where did he go? Did he get to Tuareg and the Amazigh who was in Morocco? They were black at the time to go fight in the north. No. What he did, he went down to the south. In the Takwir, we have our Fulani scholars who talked about this, who confirmed this fact. He came to the Takwir region, and in modern day Mauritania, as we know it today, right? And he went to get. Why did he go get the Fulani brothers? Why did he go get the Fulani brothers and the Sinike brothers and the Wolof brothers, huh? And the Bombardar brothers and some Mende and so forth and so on? Why did he go way down south to pick them up and bring him to Andalus? You got to think about that, brothers and sisters. You got to think about that. And as I told you, when they came to invade in 711 to take over Spain, you can imagine with the Tubab, who the Spanish, what they call Visigoths at that time, they call them Spanish, when they saw them, to the point Roderick was mesmerized. He's getting ready to fight them. But he saw them. He saw these jet black Fulani brothers at that time. And imama, the turban, on camels and on horseback. Okay, not camels, but on horseback. He saw them. He saw the way they were dressed. And but what triggered him and the scholars in Spain was scared them was this, brothers and sisters. This. They talked about this. When they saw black men like this, it frightened them. See, the Arabs coined the term Muladiyun to talk about the Fulani and the Tuareg and the Soninke and the Wolof and the Mandinka and Mende, all the Muslim brothers who were fighting in the north, who were there in the Takrur region. This scared them. Scobie talked about that. He was talking about how the turban they wore, the way they wore it, made him even look blacker. Okay? And Roderick described him as pitch black as well. He was the king of the Visigoths of Spain at that time. See, so I'm making these points, brothers and sisters, to make the emphasis to you again that the Fulani, all the Muslim brothers today, our Fulani brothers, our Hausa brothers, Kanuri brothers, and others have turban ceremonies. Don't say this is Arab, please. Now you have the history behind that. We had it. If you read what the Arab historians said, they will tell you right now why they call us Muladiyun. We did not copy them. We had our own style. So I gave you this proof today so you'll have it. Okay, you'll have it. Now, when they were in Andalus, I'm going to show you some depictions here in a minute. In Andalus, you heard those need to go revisit my tape. It was 3 tapes I had talks on Andalus and how the Fulani person first entered in 711 and he helped to save it in the 1000s. Now they became Murabitun. Now they became mixed with a lot of different with the ethnic groups because everybody was black. Even the Tuareg, the Amazigh, everybody was black. It's just the ethnic and the cultural differences. But as the centuries moved on, the Tuareg and the Fulani in particular have switched a lot of cultural traits to the point where you don't know who's Fulani and who's Tuareg, especially in modern times. Because when they wear blue, a lot of times you can't tell who is actually Amazigh, who's actually Tuareg, and who actually Fulani. In some cases you can because the lighter skin Tuareg and so forth and so on, that you will know, okay, yeah, we know he's Amazigh, we know he's Tuareg, so forth and so on. Okay, so, but I'm just trying to make these points to you. In Andalus, brothers and sisters, if you read the accounts on what was happening, they had a lot of stuff going on there. And the king and the noble people in Andalus for many centuries wore beautiful clothing. It was augmented by the turban. See, And you know my story. I told you about the Melungeons, who the Melungeons were the result because of the black man, the Fulani, namely, and the Spanish woman, relations. They produced a whole race of people called the Melungeon people. I told you about that. So this is a interesting phenomenon, brothers and sisters, again. And you don't know who, again, Roderick said this point. And even Charlemagne, who was in France, the great, French fighter, remember him? Charlemagne, he said the same thing. He called them pitch black. He talked about their turbans. He talked about how fierce they were. He was talking about the blackness of their skin. He even wrote a poem about these people. And we know at this time, in between this, from the 711s to the 1000s in particular, there was a lot of mixing, brothers and sisters. Okay? A lot of mixing between the Fulani, Sinike, Wolof, the Arab, the black Arab who came, okay, the Amazigh and Tuareg. They took Spanish, even French women, they called Gauls at the time, they came into the kingdom. And the brothers mated with these women, and they produced a lot of different types of offspring. It's a fascinating history, very fascinating history. You got no brother saying same. The term may have come from a term. My link. Hey, yes, yeah, my dear brother. I believe you're correct. Yes, it may came from that. You're right. Thank you for this information, my dear brother. Thank you very much, my dear cousin. Thank you. And so this is something, brothers and sisters, a part of history that I'm talking about today, especially for us Fulani people. We should understand our history, because a lot of times the Fulani are called Arabs, and most all black people too. When you wear ima in particular, then they say that you're Arab, and this is not the case. And I want to show you some things here, brothers and sisters. Now, this is some of the styles I want to get you to understand that we have a lot of these types of styles here, where we have the brothers in Andalus, okay? And at this time now, you got to remember something. When the brothers, they have beautiful, elegant clothing and so forth and so on. The brothers were now mixed. There was a lot of mixture, to the point I told you by the 1000s, 1100s, 1200s, you don't know who was really Fulani anymore, who was actually Sonike, or who was Wolof. Except the Wolof, you could tell that your daddy was Wolof, because they were big people, and they tend to be taller and well muscled, way over 6 feet. So they kind of knew that your daddy was Wolof. But the mixing, and then they mixed with Spanish women, and their children became kings and aristocrats in Andalus. And many of them look like this. But as you notice in this period, when you think about the history, why did they wear the turban? The turban was a important factor, not because the Arabs gave it to us. Again, the Arabs did not give this to us. We had it before they came. We perfected it. We wore it in style to the point where the Arabs again called us Muladiyun. That's what they called us, the veiled ones, because the way we wore our turbans and the way we wore the face veil. And historians talked about the glamour of how we were dressed. Even in West Africa, you see when we had the Fulani sultanates, the Fulani were very distinguished, and our sisters were well known for the way they dressed, their cleanliness, and their beauty. See, and this is a very important factor. We know this is part of something I wanted to show to you, brothers and sisters. In Andalus, they had a style wearing imas. You'll see many depictions of Andalus. You'll see brothers with big old imas. Okay, ima, I always use Arabic. Excuse me, the turbans. And you'll look at the Fulani brother, and you'll see one of his women is light-skinned girls like this, who are now mixed in Andalus. They were now mixed. They're mixed with Spanish, Fulani. Some have Tuareg mixture in that as well. Or there were a French woman who was a handmaiden to our brother who was an emir here. And in those days, the brothers were beautiful imams. Again, I'm going to use the Arabic term because we're Muslims here. Imama, meaning the turban, and they wore beautiful clothing with it. They wore elegant clothing in Andalus for many centuries. And they had beautiful women in their harems or in their castles or whatever you want to say. And they had light-skinned sisters like this who are now mixed. So I wanted to bring those points to you. And when they, again, brothers and sisters, we have a depiction here of brothers when they left, okay, when they left from the West Africa, excuse me, to go up into the north to fight. And now the Spanish, for the first time, get to see black Fulani brothers from the Sahara, from the desert, and from the Savannah region. They saw fierce-looking brothers who meant business. They were dressed like this. This is an important factor, brothers and sisters, that you should understand. Again, this is nothing. If you look at the style, you show me in Jazeera Arab who wear clothing like this. Nobody wears clothing like this in Jazeera Arab. The Fulani, the Sunike, the Bambara, the Wolof, Mendinka, Mende, all of us who were Muslims in the corridor region, we were, and the Tuareg brothers and Amazigh brothers, we wore clothing like this because we lived in the desert and we had hot sun and we had windstorms. So we had a style. And so when the Europeans began to see us in this way, they were mesmerized. When the Arabs came, they were mesmerized by the way we dressed. And we were fierce warriors, especially the Fulani. So I wanted to get those factors to you, brothers and sisters. Okay. And also, when we had another factor too, brothers and sisters, in Andalus in particular. You know the Andalusian style because they wear this big, big ima. But you also know the style of Andalus because our Fulani brothers sported some beautiful women, which was talked about. And even if you look at drawings, you see beautiful black women. And our brothers had them by their sides. Many of them, I told you, I told you the story. Some of them had 100 of these type of sisters and white from England, from Spain, and from France in their harems. And many of our brothers have over 100 children. Some have 50 children by sisters like this. See, so I wanted to get this fact to get you to think about the history. Here's another part of this. We have a Fulani brother and some Amir that's in Andalus and his wife. She looks like a modern day Fulani sister. But we know in those days she is Fulani, but she also had mixture with probably European as well. And she might be even part Tuareg, but there's only culture, not color, because the Tuareg at that time were black. But the style, no brother in these times, in the Fulani history at this times, were not without their ima. Okay, brothers and sisters, let's face it. Their ima was like part of their head. They wore this. This is not an Arab concoction. This is our style, our way, our customs, what we did, what we wanted. And when they wrote again about these styles, they talked about these issues like this. And they talked about the beautiful women of Andalus. Now you see what I'm talking about. We have also the brothers, they had these light-skinned, slave women, we call handmaidens, right? And then they had their children. And you read the stories, you see how elegant they dressed. Even their children dressed eloquently in those eras, and the eras when we controlled Spain as we know it today. So we had that, brothers and sisters, and I wanted to make that point to you so you guys can see this and understand this, and be appreciative of your heritage, that you're not an Arab. That's not to slight the Arabs. Don't, please. This is not about racism. That's not what I meant to say. I'm not saying this. What I'm trying to say, I'm trying to clear up a factor, because people like me, other brothers, you are scholars, my brothers scholars, Islam, all of us wear, a lot of us wear, the imam, the turban. And we're told that we were trying to be Arab, and it's not the case. I'm giving you a history behind this now so you can understand how it came about. And when the Europeans saw us, they were totally mesmerized by us, and whatnot and so on. There was a lot of sexual politics going on as well. And our Fulani brothers were sporting some of the most beautiful women in the world. And these sisters were having babies by our brothers. See, and brothers were also married to Spanish girls who are now mixed race as well. And especially in Andalus, they were no longer quote unquote Spanish. That generation was almost died out, because now all the Spanish women that were there and the English women that were there, they all mated with the Fulani, the Sinike, and the Mende, the Mendinka brothers, Bambara, all the Tuareg began to mix. So they were no longer Spanish white Tubac anymore. They were considered black, but they were light-skinned black folk. See, like this sister here. See, so again, brothers and sisters, I wanted to get this out to you, a historical fact for you to understand, so you can now have this pride that you had something that was unique about you. And we had Arabs who even wrote about us. Now you heard me talk about this. We had the Europeans. Roderick talked about us. Charlemagne, the great warrior king of France, talked about us as well. We had our own style. Our style is this. We wore this type of style. This is what they wrote about well before the Arabs came and gave us Islam. When we became Muslims, yes, we took Islam. We learned from the Prophet ﷺ, his sunnah, yes, but we had our own style of dressing. So let's get that. Now here we got, now I want to bring up a point. And now modern day, the Tuaregs, a lot of them are lighter skinned today than they were way back in the 711 and the 800s, 900s, all the way up to the 1800s. They were mainly still very black. But now in modern times, they're more lighter skinned, but they still mixed. They're still black folk. And when Tariq ibn Ziyad, when he was going to the south, he used brothers like this who were familiar with the Sahara, like the back of their hand, to get them to go into the south region. When the brothers from the south, who are not living in the Sahara no more, the Fulani and the Senike and the Wolof and so forth, they used the Tuareg to get them across the Sahara into North Africa, into the Maghreb. So they used brothers like this. And again, today, many of the Tuareg, you don't know if he's Fulani or if he's Tuareg, because they wear blue. Both wear blue. We don't know this, but it's our style. This is our style. This is not a style that we copied from the Arabs. This is our style. This is ours. This is ours, the Fulani and the Tuareg. This is our style. That's why they call us Muladiyun. See, I wanted to get this out to you so you know, brother, sister, you're Fulani. You're not mimicking. Now, let me preface this also. We're Muslims. You imitate the Prophet Islam. This is a good thing. This is ajr behind that. Our Prophet Islam wore a imam. He wore it, no doubt. He wore that. So you want to emulate the Prophet Islam, you can. But I'm clearing this up to the non-Muslims in particular, who like to get after us by saying, oh, you Fulani people, oh, you Hausa, you Kanuri, oh, you Mendinka, you Mende people. You know, I see you over in synagogue. You guys have imams on, turbans. What, why you want to imitate Arabs? Now, you got the history. Now, brothers and sisters, you have a history. You can argue with our own African brothers and sisters who say that we Arabs, or we trying to act like Arabs. Now you have that, and now you have this proof. Okay, here. Oh, thank you, my dear sister. This is my sister there in California. Thank you very much, my sister. Thank you for showing up very, very much. I really appreciate that. And so yeah, my dear brother, thank you very much. And I'm happy to see my sister here because I want her to have this history because she's been very interested in this and about the Fulani because we were Fulani. We learned that we're Fulani people, and so we're starting to adapt that. And so I'm giving a history about how the Fulani people wore the turban. The Fulani and the turban were significant. There was when you talk about the Fulani, you know the Fulani was noted for the cattle, for his horsemen, being a horseman, and his clothing, and his turban, and his sword. Okay, brother, I'm telling you now. Okay, that's what they were noted when you read what Samari Turi talked about. The Fulani people were noted for this. They were noted for the clothing, the turbans, the sword. Okay, bottom line, we were noted for that. This something we didn't copy from the others. We already had this type of style in us. And when we're in the desert and so forth and so on, we had our own style. We had our own style of clothing and colors and so forth and so on. See, and so this is again a part of history, brothers and sisters. And in Andalus, we had brothers who had style. Some, of course, we know was wrong because we know the Prophet ﷺ told the Andalusians, told the Muslims not to have gold and ornaments and so forth and so on. But in Andalus, they did do this. They had so much wealth. You know that out of the 20 most wealthy countries in the world in history, we know that I think over 10 or 12 of them were in the Andalus time. And the richest man in the world was who? Askia Mohammed, right? We know that in Mali, right? We know this, right? And what did he wear? He wore imama. See, and he was Fulani. So we know he wore imama as well. So all his brothers and sisters get you to get you to think, even to the point I want to make inference, even though it's not for West Africa, even in India, brothers and sisters, we had black people were running India for a number of centuries. We had kings there in India as well. And we were running India, matter of fact. See, and India was governed by Muslims for 1,000 years. You heard me talk about that issue. They wore elegant clothing as well. But that's from the East Coast. That's from Habasha, which you call Ethiopia today. But Habasha is the name. I talked about this word Habasha when we were talking about the classes. I was giving you the linguistics, talking about the names Tasha and so forth. Very interesting in the Met-Neher language. Here's a Fulani brother here again. He wear all blue. But again, we have this style. This is ours, brothers and sisters. The Arabs don't dress like this. They didn't then, and they don't now. We have our own style. We have our own agbada. To the north, we call this the raha. This is what we call this in the Arabic language to the north. But into the West Africa, into this corridor and the Savannah regions, we know this as in the coastal West Africa. We know this agbada. This is what we call that. But it's our style. It's not the style of the Arabs. We know that. See, so I want to get this cleared up so we have this evidence and so you can understand it. And again, brothers and sisters, we have our style. Here we have a Tuareg mixed Fulani individual who's living in the part of the Savannah region and part of the Sahara. And again, wearing big blue emas and so forth and so on. Again, the Arabs when they encountered us in the Sahara, they called us Muladiyun. That's what they call us. This is, is very, very interesting term that they called us because we always had face veils on and we had these emas. And the way we styled our ema was totally different. See, So I wanted to get those factors out to you, brothers and sisters, so that you will have that, and you can you can see. Now we have a warrior, a Fulani, who most likely in depictions went up to the north and to Andalus and 711 all across to the 1000s. We had them looking like this. And again, we were noted for the sword. Brothers and sisters, I cannot emphasize that. Why did our esteemed brother, Moroccan brother, who was black, Tariq ibn Zayed, why did he go to the south, into the Sahara, into the Tukrur region? Why? To get brothers like this. To get brothers like this to go into Andalus to make the fight against the Visigoths, against the Tuba in Spain. And our brothers are fierce warriors. See? So now you have that. But when our brothers were not in fighting, they were involved in other things, okay, with the sisters, and they produced a whole race of people. And our brothers were sporting some of the most beautiful sisters in the world, even at that time. And they had their pick, even exclusive, half white, half black girls like this. And our brothers wore beautiful clothing and imamas. Again, for those coming late, imama is the turban. See, so I hope you get my picture today, brothers and sisters. I'm getting close to close here now. I wanted to give this little history about the Fulani and the turban. We have Fulani, and we have Kanuri, we have Hausa, we have these turban ceremonies. This is not Arab. This is not Arab. This is ours. So now you have the understanding. These traditions go way, way back. So please, now, brothers and sisters, you have this history. You run with it, and now you hold your head up, and you don't have to say no more and say, excuse me. Somebody just corrected me. Yes, brother, thank you. Not Askia Mohammed. Excuse me, it is Mansa Musa. Thank you, my dear brother Anjarama. Thank you, Anjarama, my dear brother. Thank you very much for that. Forgive me that because I made a mistake. I was thinking about Askia Mohammed for many days now, but Mansa Musa, yes, Mansa Musa wore a turban. Okay, he wore a turban as well, and it was Mansa Musa. Thank you very much. Okay, and our brother here was talking Mughal, yes, in India. Yes, but they had another name for our black brothers who came from Habasha. Habasha, again, is a term that even the real Ethiopians, they will tell you. Ethiopia is a name that derived from the Greeks, okay? But Habasha is a name that originated out from the region from the Ge'ez language and so forth and so on, and also from the ancient language that was spoken. Because the region of Habasha, which we know is Ethiopia and Sudan, was called Tasha. Remember, I gave you a class about the linguistics about this. Remember, I told you about my great ancestor Shabaka. Remember, Shabaka. I gave you that history about that. So he was from the region, because the Shah tells you that he was from the region called Tasha. And when the brothers went up into India to conquer, I forgot the name that they called them. I read it. I forgot the name they called. But anyway, they were black brothers from the east. Okay, no doubt about that. From Habasha, which we know today is Ethiopia. But thanks for that information. I really appreciate that. So, brothers, now we have some of this, and the depicted West African corridor synagogue, the Fulani from the 700s, 1800s, the symbol of Islamic power, grace, style, Islamic knowledge was wearing of the turban. Our greatest scholars in Timbuktu wore turbans. Matter of fact, it was a deal of this. It got to the point that you could not wear in Timbuktu during the Songhai period. If you were not a scholar, if you not mastered the books of Islam, you could not. Once you mastered the books and you was a scholar, you're a professor, and so on, you wore imama. You wore that. See? And as you heard me say, modern times, the Fulani, the Hausa have turban wearing ceremonies depicting the importance of the turban and what it means to respected to our respected cultures, and so forth and so on. There's a rhyme and method to this, brothers and sisters. And now you have this information, and I hope that you enjoyed this today. This history about the Fulani and some of our other African brothers when they went into Andalus and they were wearing imama. What the Europeans said and what the Arabs had to say about us as well. I also cleared the fact that me wearing this does not make me an Arab, because the Tuareg, the Amazigh, all of us is wearing that before the Arabs came. We perfected it. We had our own style. Again, as you heard me say, why the Arabs call us Muladiyun is for a reason, because they found us in turbans and face veils. See? So I wanted to get that factor out to you and whatnot. And we have the president of Ethiopia, Habasha. Yes, all that region, Somaliland, the Djibouti, all that region was Habasha. But the name in linguistics from ancient time, they call Ta-Sha. The ancient Egyptians, who were the Kemetic people, they call it, now, come on now. I just gave class. They call Ta-Meri. No, Ta-Meri is Messer. Ta-Seti, excuse me. Ta-Seti was Habasha. Ta-Seti. But the Habasha people at the time called their region, they call it Ta-Sha. Very interesting and beautiful names that our Black ancestors and the languages that we spoke. It was absolutely gorgeous. Tasha. Tasha. Think of it, that's beautiful. Taseti. Tameri. Think about those names. Beautiful, beautiful languages. Beautiful languages were spoken in those days. And the names they coined, the areas and the names they took, beautiful names. Taseti. You listen to a name like this, or Tameri, or Tasha. Beautiful, beautiful brothers, beautiful names that our ancestors, our younger brothers and sisters, if you have children, please get away from naming your children after the Tubab, okay? That's not a depiction against them. It's just that they're Tubab. Why you need to pick a name from them when you have beautiful names? You take a name from any of the African people. I don't care if they're Zulu. We have beautiful names. And you have a name like Tasha. You name your son that. Or Taseti. These are our ancient names. We are ancient names that we had. So why would you need to name your child after a Russian or Frenchman or a Spanish? You don't need that. We have our own languages. We have beautiful names. See? Like you talking about Queen of Sheba. Everybody knows about that. What was her real name? Now, in Arabic, Bilqis, they learned about, but in the language that was spoken by the people of Habasha, her name, she was called what? Makeda. Makeda was her name. Our sisters who listen to this in the future, if you have a daughter, a baby girl, that's a beautiful name to call your daughter, Makeda. And it's ours. It's ours. It's from the continent. Why you need to name her after a Frenchman or a Spanish or anybody else? Huh? Why? Makeda is a beautiful name for a girl. This food for thought for our younger brothers and sisters who are married and getting ready to have children and so forth. These are beautiful names that you can take for your children. See, my son, my oldest son, I named him after in Habasha, Menelik, because when I was in university, I read about the Meneliks for a long time. See, and so, I named my oldest son, Menelik, because I love that name because of the union between the prophet Solomon and Makeda, who you know as Queen of Sheba, and they had a son. They called him Menelik. I named my son after that. See, and our brother here is giving us the delil about her, because yes, that's his name, and the name that we know her to be in the language that was spoken in most likely Geese, Makeda. This is it. This is beautiful. It's beautiful, brothers and sisters. You know, you have a daughter. You want a daughter to emulate how she should not. I mean, you have a name that when she read the history behind this name, she sees one of the most beautiful women in history was Makeda. One of the most beautiful women in history on this earth was a black woman by the name of Makeda. You know her as Queen of Sheba. Why can't you name your daughter after that? Oh man, that's a beautiful name. That's a beautiful name for a woman. I mean, for a girl child to give her this name. That's right, my dear cousin. It is beautiful. It is beautiful. So I'm giving you this, brothers and sisters, and please don't ever misunderstand me about this. We always have to make apologies for something. When we want to take something of our own, we always have to make apologies for it. Because if we don't want to name our children after somebody, then they say it's reverse racism. I say it's not. I'm saying to you is once you learn these African dialects, we got beautiful. I named my youngest daughter Chinara. It's from the Igbo people from Nigeria and also from the Yoruba. See, all my children, I named African names. I didn't take the European names. I refused that. See, I named my daughter Chinara. That's a beautiful name. See, and I took my oldest daughter, I named her Marama. That came from the Fiji, from the black people, you know, in the South Pacific, the Fiji people. I was among them in 1978 and 79. And they came from East Africa originally. And I had a lot of love and respect for them. I named my oldest daughter after one queen there because the name Marama in the Fijian language actually means queen. So I gave my daughter this name, give her pride, Marama. See, so what I'm trying to say, brothers and sisters, is that we have names that we can name our children. See, so I'm getting ready to close here because I got to get ready to break fast here. Today is my day. This is my last day because I did the 6 extra days Shawwal, and I'm happy to be concluding my fasting. But I wanted to talk to you guys today because it's been a long time today. I got a lot of topics. I want to cover Sudan here in the future. I want to cover Burkina Faso. I may go back to Egypt, inshallah, ta'ala, bi'ifnillah. I may do all this, but I'm going to cover Sudan because Sudan, what's going on in Sudan is a disgrace and nobody's talking about it. I'm not trying to say we shouldn't talk about Gaza. We should talk about it. As Muslims, that's our brothers. Muslim, aku Muslim. But why didn't nobody talk about Sudan? This is on the continent. This is here on the continent. We don't talk about them. The media don't talk about Sudan. So I'm going to cover that, inshallah ta'ala. So if there's any more questions here, brothers and sisters, I need to close and get ready here to make my iftar and whatnot. And I'm hoping that you guys got something out of this today. And it's my pleasure to present this history to you. And I'm hoping that you guys had a good Ramadan. And please stay safe and whatnot. And our Fulani brothers and sisters, you know, be proud of your history. And if you're Muslim, be proud of that. If you sit in the United States, know now that the turban was worn by the West Africans, in particular the Fulani people, in particular, well before the Arabs came to the region. And we just perfected it. And not only that, we had our own style to where the point, again, the Arabs coined the term Molaviyun to describe us. So with that said, brothers and sisters, I got one more thing here. I was always confused whether she was, but see, you got to remember something about Yemen. Yemen, we understand, was under Habasha, okay, under her kingdom. So if she was on the coast or she was sitting in Habasha proper, Ethiopia today, or Tasha in that region, see, then it didn't make a difference because the Yemeni people at that time were black as well. See, at that time. And you got to remember King Solomon, what he said in the Song of Solomon, he says, I'm black and comely. So we know that I gave you a class about the Hebrews. They were black folk. We know that. See, so Yes, and we have a lot of history about this and whatnot. The connections, yeah, but Yemen, on and off, we had connections where we control them, and they'll go back to do, and then we go back to defeat them again. But she was the queen of this region, and Sabat was also the name. Yes, is in Arabic form. Yes, and so, but her real name we know now, and probably in the Ge'ez language, we know was Makeda. We know that. We know that. See, and so have you ever seen what found under the? No, I heard about this. I saw the YouTube. I saved it. I have not got a chance to review this. They said it was. I forgot what they said. Yeah, it was. They found pillars. Yeah, they found things underneath it. Yes, I got to read that. Very interesting. Very, very interesting that they found some. I forgot what it was. Very interesting. They found these pillars underneath. Yes, it's very interesting, isn't it? I'm going to get back into Egypt. Habasha. I mean, excuse me, Kempt, and in the future here as well. And our brother here was under Axum. Yes, Axum. Yes, yes, it was under them on and off. And at the Islamic period, the strength of the Muslim population, they went from the Habasha region, or Ta Shah, okay, Ta Seti, or any name you want to call that region, and they went up and through Jazir Arab all the way into India and kicked butt. And we know that for a fact. It's Indian history. They were ruling, and some of the emirs and sultans of India were from Habasha. Okay, so we got that. We know that history very well. So, brothers and sisters, I will conclude with that. Thank you very much for showing up and spread this tape. And those who haven't subscribed, please subscribe to me. And inshallah ta'ala, one more thing, our brother here, he said that yes, in the Quran, yes, talks about that in there. Yes, he does. The Subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about that. Thank you for that information and that little lesson there, because the Quran is so massive, you can't remember everything. Thank you, my dear brother, for giving us that information. So I will close here today, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.